Om Bhadram Karnebi Shrunuyama Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhir Yajatra Sirai Rangai Stuštavansas Tanubi Vyashema Deva Hitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddashrava Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda Swastina Starksho Arishtanemi Swastino Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We have started the study of Mandukya Upaniṣad of the Atharvaveda on the first Wednesday. We thought of the name Mandukya Upaniṣad, and on the last Wednesday we thought of for whom it will be benefiting, who is the proper recipient of it, and that we discussed from two different standpoints, from the traditional standpoint and from a fresh new standpoint, and we arrived at some conclusions. And because the four things, Adhikari, Vishaya, Sambandha and Prayojan, are interrelated, we discussed a little of the Prayojan also, the purpose for which this study is there. But today, let us discuss that in more detail. What is the Prayojan? Now, a person, a man, who has, I am a man consciousness. If we go to the reality of this man consciousness, which is nothing but a reflection or an abhasa, only an appearance of the real consciousness. So when we try to find out of what it is the abhasa, we will find that it is Brahma, reality, one without a second. And what will that do? Today, we have a Gordian knot, the knot of wrong knowledge that we discussed on the first day. The knot of wrong knowledge. It will break that. It will destroy that forever. We discussed this while discussing the name. It will get Brahman for us, which is our own real nature, and yet we can't say that we have got it. So it will enable us to realize it, get it. And we have innumerable desires as subsidiary knots or complexes of the mind. And once the Gordian knot is cut, all these knots will be released. They will become loose. So we come out of it. This is the prayojan. In our practical life, we find it from another angle. We discussed that day that we all feel incomplete. We all feel we are imperfect, and that does not allow us to sit quiet. It goes on pushing us here, there, everywhere, and yet we remain as we were. And then we understand that we have to change our consciousness. And for the change of consciousness, you have to grapple with the consciousness first, which is unknown to modern science. Someone was telling me last time that the scientists also are trying to find out consciousness. That consciousness is no consciousness. What they say is that body is a combination. And when such a combination takes place, a reaction comes of consciousness. Swami Vivekananda asked, who made the combination first? Tell us. And if some consciousness made this combination, that very consciousness is now present. So this appearance of a consciousness, which is the reaction of a combination, is well known to the Gita 13th chapter. And the Lord designates it as a part of the farm which you are cultivating, as a part of the body or personality which we are feeling today. It is not consciousness. And yet, we don't want to give it up. We saw in the example of the ant. And so, in the 13th chapter of the Gita, Sanghata, Chetana, Dhriti. Sanghata means combination. Chetana means the consciousness, which is the reaction of the combination. And Dhriti means the tendency of the mind to try to catch hold of it, not give it up. So all these three have been described as kshetra dharmas, the characteristics of this field in which we are cultivating our karma results. And what we have heard, today's science is called postmodern science, that you know perhaps. When relativity was discovered by Einstein and nuclear physics, then the concepts of physics totally changed. And that was called modern science. But that has become pretty old now. And every day new ideas are coming. And Schrodinger equation and all that. So they say that the postmodern science conceives that there is something called consciousness. And we will have to study that also. But the point is, how they will study? As we study an external object, in the same process they will study the consciousness. And so consciousness again will become an object like matter. As Swami Vivekananda has said, Sardan Swamiji in Great Master, they will say, wait 1,000 years, then we will tell you. So that is not going to help us. The methodology of each science has to be developed, perfected, then only the science grows. So the science of the spirit, as we can call him, has its own methodology. And that methodology only, when we adopt, then we are called the sadhaks, the aspirant. Control of the outgoing tendencies, a strong tendency to go in and in and in and in, not introvert. Introvert is a bad word. The extrovert deals with outside objects. The introvert broods within his own mind. But this is not introvert. This is ingoing. Matter, mind, I consciousness, they are inside one another. So in and in and in and in we go till we get the reality. This is the way to search for the real consciousness. And unless the weapons or the instruments for this are discovered and pursued, we cannot get at the absolute truth. So the methodology itself is different. So what happens if we realize the our own real nature. Our attempts, our efforts come to fruition. We feel my life is fulfilled. Till then we do not feel it. Till then, if somebody feels his life is fulfilled, he has not understood anything. As we quoted that day, a Socrates dissatisfied is better than a pig satisfied. So, dissatisfaction ending in perfection is a different thing. Then feeling somewhere I have perfected, you will come to grief next day. So, the purpose, why we are thinking of this again? We are thinking of 4 things, but the question is why? Why we thought of Adhikari? Because we have to change our mind in that direction. So we discuss Adhikari. Why we are discussing Prayojan? So that while studying the scriptures, we should not be misled in some other direction. And also because it is that which will give fulfillment to life. Then we come to the subject matter. And that also we discussed indirectly on the 2 days. What is the subject matter? Don't say Brahman is the subject matter. Don't say that the identity between Brahman and ourself is the subject matter. The subject matter is the realization of this identity. The realization of the identity between the so-called individual with the actual which is universal, the identity to be realized is the subject matter. And that we have to think again in relation to the Mandukya Upanishad. So the Mandukya Upanishad shows us that everything else is false. We should get rid of that which is false. So we are not to attain anything new. We have to attain our own real nature for the fulfillment of life. That is the subject matter. Now comes the most important point, but often missed by people. I am tempted to tell an incident. In Rishikesh, there was a Vivek ashram near our Kutia, and in their annual function for 3 days, every day they used to invite some head of an ashram, a Mandaleshwar, to preside. And the president there does not sum up the other lectures. That is done by the person who conducts meeting. President chooses his own topic and speaks. Now 1 year, I may name, there is no harm in that because facts I am telling. There is a very good Vedantic ashram in Kankhal, Haridwar, Sadhan ashram, na? What is the name? You know that. Very near our ashram, Sadhan ashram. And the head of that ashram came to preside. And he said, today I will talk of some Anubandha Chatushtaya, the 4 things necessary for benefiting by that spiritual book. And he started enumerating. He said, Adhikari, Vishaya, Prayojan. And then he taxed his memory. and said Sambandha. And having told this, he started delineating in detail. And he delineated Adhikari, Vishaya and Prayojan as nicely as the traditional Vedantis can do, and stop there. Sambandha, he had taxed his memory and given the name, but in explanation he did not explain it at all. And so in fun I said, their Vedanta is Asambandha Vedanta, unconnected with our life. I will tell another incident about this. There was a Swami, name I will not remember now. He took a spiritual initiation from the president of the Sardamath Mataji. And he studied in the traditional Kailash ashram. And his study was complete, and they declared that you are fit to teach. And he started teaching. And he liked some solitude, so he stayed in the temple complex of Devaprayag. And when I visited Devaprayag, he came out of his room and said that I want to learn Vedanta from you. I was surprised. I said, I heard that you are teaching Vedanta. He said, yes, that is true. And he told me this history. But I find, he says, this Vedanta is not connected with our life at all. And what Vivekananda preached is Vedanta which is connected with our life. And that I want to learn from you. So same thing. Now let me tell something positive. Traditionally and in a fresh way, both. Traditionally, there is a small book which I have been quoting quite often called Vedanta Sar of Sadananda Yogendra. And his definitions of everything are very apt. From his thing only I quoted that the realization of the identity is the subject matter. Now, generally, the so-called traditionalists tell us Pratipadya Pratipadaka Bhav is the connection. That means the book which you are reading propagates the nature of Brahman. And Brahman, or this identity to be realized, is the thing to be told about. And this book tells about. That is the connection. Sadananda says, Pratipadya Pratipadak accepted. But what the Vedanta tries to do, Pratipadya Pratipadak, Bodhya Bodhaka Bhava. Pratipadya Pratipadakastu Bodhya Bodhaka Bhava. That means Bodhya. That means our consciousness has to change. Bodhaka means the teacher or the Upanishad is trying to change that. That is the Sambandha. Sambandha is between the Pratipadya and Pratipadak, there is a Bodhya Bodhaka Bhavaha. The Bhava is an attitude. The attitude of the consciousness to be aroused by the teacher. When we understand this, then we understand also that the student has to get his consciousness aroused by the teacher. So all his effort should be about arousal of the consciousness, which is already our real nature, but as if it is sleeping. So the arousal is the sambandha. Now I will tell you, as my Guruji taught me, let me tell, I have not, little fanatic like it will appear, I have not seen anywhere in the world, including Ramakrishna Mission, people talking of this sambandha properly. Because they listen traditionally. My Guruji told in two different ways. One is, he gave an illustration from the field of bhakti. All of you might be knowing that there is a Radha. And visualize. Radha is standing, and near her, her friend is standing. And at some distance, not far away, somebody has called on Krishna, Shyam, he says. Now Radha tells her friend a line of a Bengali song. Sakhi, kebaya sunaino shamanam, kaner bhetere diya morame poshinogo, vyakul korilo mor pran. Oh friend, who has called on Krishna? It has, that call has gone through my ears and touched the fundamental core of my personality, which is called marma. And my pran, in Bengali, pran is always used for heart. My heart has become restless, eager, yearning to see him. After telling this line of this song, my Guru used to say, this is Vedantic Shravan. From that I gathered two things, either or both. With such a mind, we have to listen. Or we should listen in such a way that this will be created. This hankering to realize will be created. So, what I mean now is that we don't have to listen by ears only. The first means of listening is ear. So Radha says from ear it went inside. And generally what happens is that we listen by our intellect. And that serves no purpose. I have heard traditional Vedantists telling that let us first listen rationally, understand, and then we shall try to realize. But I have not seen people like that. The whole world, as that Swami Vivekananda told me, they listen, they become convinced, and it stops there. To the length that in a big function in the Nagpur ashrama, Sri Ramakrishna's centenary function, there was Professor Malkani of the Amalner Institute of Philosophy. And he said that conviction is realization. Then he had to be contradicted. Conviction may be helpful to beginning of realization, but not the end. And sometimes it is neither here nor there. Bodhya bodhaka bhava. So, in simple English also I told these 4 points. Who what, why, and how. How we have to listen? With this attitude. Listen by our heart. I will tell something funny about it. I showed to you, I don't remember. There was a music competition for 6 months. Girls, boys from the age 8 up to 15. And one girl, the youngest of the finalists, 8.5 years. One guest, he was himself a great musician. He said, I will show you. He said, when you were singing, it became engraved on my heart. And that song was somebody's song. So he said, I have heard this first time. And I have heard it from you. So whenever I will hear again, I will call it your song. And because it has been written on my heart, engraved. He showed by hand like this. Understand? So, heart is the instrument of experience, not intellect. And so, that is what Radha is telling. Marame pashinago vyakul korilo mor pran. So, we have to listen through the ear, passes through intellect or not, and goes to the heart. That is the how to listen. No, this was through an incident. Then through words he said, I go back a little and connect that. What we have to study? Rishi Vakyas, he said. Rishi Vakyas. And he defined who is a Rishi, where we see perfection, that is a Rishi. And he added, telling, don't read books by scholars. And for 15 years, he did not allow me to touch books by scholars. Afterwards, he told me, now you can read books by scholars also. Anyway. And how to listen? He said, we have to listen critically and devotionally. Now, in this critical listening, something intellect or rationalism may come. What is critically? We don't have to criticize them. Critically means analytically. And that why comes there. Prayojan. Why is telling such a thing? That we try to find out. And not only that, same word if appears again, at this point, why is telling like that? So this will say context. That he called critically. And devotionally, he himself again defined. Devotionally means feeling full, as we thought of Radha, through bhakti. But he defined that again. Devotionally means first feel the gap and then try to fill up that gap. First feel the gap and then try to fill up that gap. Feel, Every sentence of the scriptures shows some ideal. And we are not that today. This gap should be felt. And then we try to fill up that gap. This is devotionally. So I think in as many ways as possible, I have told you how to listen. And about adhikar, I had mentioned on the first day that each treatise of Vedanta, other than this common adhikar, requires something special. And we should understand, for assimilating this Mandukya Upanishad, we require absolute unselfishness, if there is some such word. Expanded mind, very broad mind, no narrowness allowed, no selfishness allowed. Because here, at the very first step, our individuality is being smashed. And we are told in the first step, 4 steps. First step, you will realize that you are universal bodily. In the first step itself. So we require that unselfishness which is ready to do like that. And for that we require another thing. Dispassion. Intense dispassion. Readiness to give up this. Readiness to give up everything of this small personality. And Shankaracharya in many places will describe this dispassion in a little different way. Dispassion about not only, as Sri Ramakrishna says, woman and gold or enjoyment, but by doing something we get something, that is the worldly life. Dispassion about this tendency. Understood? Felt rather. This is the field of karma. If by doing something we will get something, that will be bound to be finite and temporary. It may go for a long time, but it will be temporary. Then, is not human life like that? I told you on the first day, last Wednesday also, that man tries to change everything in the world to improve. That does not satisfy, that does not fulfill his need. When he starts changing himself, then only he will gain perfection. So, to get something by doing something is outside. And this is the common level of humanity. And when a man becomes dissatisfied about this tendency, I do not want to do anything to get anything. Understand? Then what do you want? I want to change myself. Understood? That Shankaracharya defines as vairagya, required for assimilating Upanishads. Anyway, so with this, let us proceed. We meet with this Mandukya Upanishad. Let me remind you that it denotes the process which Sri Ramakrishna has said, like a frog, we hop, hop, hop and reach the goal. That is the process. That is why it is called Mandukya Upanishad. Mandukya Gati. Now, and we have been told also, we have seen that the book also is called Upanishad, when it is handled for that purpose. Remember that word, Shankar's commentary of Kathopanishad, Tadarthena Granthopi Upanishad iti uchyate. So when you open the book, what we first meet is the, what to call it, prayer, Mangalacharan, Shantipat. Why I am telling different names is, Shantipat comes after Mangalacharan. People call the whole thing Shantipat. The meaning is that we have to recite it and go forward. And when we say Mangalacharan, that also we copy from Karma Kanda of the Vedas. When we are doing some holy work, like say Homa, Yajna, there is another funny thing in the world. Na? The good people or the spiritual aspirant does not bother about what the other man is doing. But the other man will never keep quiet unless he hits this man. And so to ward off asuras, when you start yajna, they will throw something, this and that, not allow you to proceed. So they say by chanting this Mangala Charan, the asuras will run away. The vignas, the obstructions will be removed and you will to proceed on your path. Now suppose we want to drag this definition to Jnana-kanda also. Then here there is no outside obstruction, remember. The obstruction is our habits. The obstruction is our attachment to our body, mind and consciousness. The obstruction, the main obstruction from where all the obstructions start is our I consciousness. And so, to remove this I consciousness, we require Mangalacharan. What I am telling is, according to that Karma Kanda, whether it is Shantipat or Mangalacharan, you chant it, the obstructions are over and you go ahead. We miss the meaning of the words of the Mangalacharan. So in Jnana-kanda, in the Upanishad, we have to pay particular attention to the words of the Mangalacharan so that the obstructions which are from ourselves can be conquered or removed. So let us read, which we chanted in the beginning. Now, Om. Om we will take up afterwards because the whole Mandukya Upaniṣad is based upon Om. We may remember this much because we read Prashnopanishad. And in Prashnopanishad, there was a question. People, we say, till the death, whole life, they go on chanting and meditating on Om. What do they get? And the reply was, they get either Sagun Brahma or Nirguna Brahma according to the capacity of the mind. So from that we learn that Om is the nearest and dearest and unspecified name of Sagun Nirgun Brahma. And chanting Om first means anchoring our mind into Saguna Nirgun Brahma. Then Bhadram. Now this Bhadram fellow is dangerous. In Bengali, it is used in a very common way. Bhadralok, Bhadramaila. Not that Bhadra. I'm not saying they should be Abhadra, but not that Bhadra. No, the important point is Bhadra of this worldly life is different, and Bhadra for spiritual life is totally different. For example, if somebody talks of death, the people in the world say, oh, you should not talk like that, it is Abhadra, unholy. And in spiritual life, in the Kathopanishad, death is made the central point to rise. So what is Bhadra according to spiritual needs? Simple. That which takes us Godward is Bhadra. That which enables us to realize our own real nature is Bhadra. And anything opposite is Abhadra. Now again, we are given a definition, but it contains two sides. The objective and the subjective. You understand? When the dirtiest, obscene words were uttered by Girish Chandra in front of Sri Ramakrishna, he went into Samadhi. We shall not go. So there is a subjective side. What takes us Godward, there is a subjective side. And there is an objective side also. To give an example from my life, when we were here in the training center of Belur Math, on our way to dining hall, little aside, there was a room. Now I don't see that room. And one Swami used to live there. And he had an habit of listening to good devotional songs on the radio. And mostly they were songs sung by girls. Our principal Maharaj asked us, don't go that side, go by far distance route. Why? If I listen to songs by a girl, a man, there will be two reactions. One may be because it was devotional song, the mind will be attracted to God. But because a girl is singing, the mind may be attracted to that girl. So I've shown the subjective and objective side. But if you are elevated, whether it is a girl or boy, you will be attracted to God only. So now, Bhadram, first, Karnevi Shrunuyama Deva. Why Karnevi? Because the next will be eyes. According to Vedanta, according to Rishis, and we can verify that if you like, these two indriyas, ears and eyes, they go to catch their object. Our other indriyas, sparsha, smell and taste, work only when the thing comes to them. These two indriyas go. And that is why these days everything audiovisual we see. So, and within the two, ears, because ears, if something comes in front, eyes are obstructed. But ears are not obstructed by something in the front. Secondly, all the knowledge which the rishis give us is through hearing. So that is the indriya which is influencing our life most. And so there is a prayer, there is a reminding to ourselves. This is the meaning of prayer. That we should listen to, hear that which is auspicious. That which takes us spiritually higher. That which takes us Godwards. That which takes us towards our own real nature. We should listen to that. Plus, the prayer tells us, may we rise higher and higher so that ultimately everything becomes auspicious to us, like Sri Ramakrishna. So that is the first part of the, one more word is there. Om Bhadram Karnebhi Shrunuyama Devaha. Deva is Sambodhan, gods. So we talked of gods on the first day, Devata Gyan, and then Brahma Gyan. That is how we talked of Vedanta. So this is a prayer to the gods. Now, what the rishis tell us that every organ of ours has a controlling cosmic organ. They are gods. We cannot see unless sun is there. We cannot hear unless space is there. You understand? The cosmic gods. But you may say, in Advaita Vedanta, where do the gods stand? So ultimately, it is one reality, Brahman, the only consciousness, which appears as different gods. But in our life, practical life, we do require different gods because the organs are different. So, it is prayer to Brahman ultimately through his different manifestations, and we are praying to them. They should arrange that in our life we shall always hear sounds which will take us higher, and our system itself should rise so that more and more things take us still higher. Then Bhadram, again, auspicious, Pashyema, we want to see, Akshavir, by eyes, Yajatraha. This Yajatra can be thought of Prathama Vibhakti or Sambodhan, both, because the forms are same. So if it is Sambodhan, then Devaha Yajatraha. Because man's life was a life of sacrifice. So gods of the sacrifice is Yajatra. But Yajatra can be Prathama Vibhakti also. That means the sadhak is telling about himself. We are Yajatras. And we are praying to Devas or Brahman that may we see auspicious things only. Not so-called beautiful things. Beautiful things themselves had two different responses. These days, very common language, beautiful, sexually attractive. That is taking us down and down. Beautiful, sublime, which is taking us up and up. And we are sacrificers. I told you the requirement of unselfishness. Unless we are sacrificers of our ego, of our selfish drags, we cannot rise higher. So this Yajatra tells us about ourselves. We have to be Yajatras to hear auspicious sounds and see auspicious things. And this Mangala Charan or anything of the scriptures is a vertical spiral. That means if we are Yajatras, then next line comes. Or we should try for that. What is that? Sthirair angaihi tanubhi. You get the tanubhi in the beginning? Because Tritiya Vibhakti, Angas and Tanus means parts of the body and functional parts of the body. The Indriyas, etc. Parts of the body, hand, feet, stomach, this and that, and eyes, ears and all that, functional parts of the body. So if you call this as Anga, that is Tanu. They should be steady, sthira. No, you can relate that if you are sacrificers, then they will become steady. Or we have made them steady by practice, either of the two. So that is again referring to ourselves. Sthirai rangai, what do we do? Steady limbs and organs does not mean we are sleeping. Tushta Vamsa. We are praising the gods or we are praising the supreme reality. Automatically, Swami Vivekananda has defined, if there were no desires in man, the only religion would have been to praise God. Because man sees that his all-knowingness, his all-powerfulness, and even the gods, oh Agni, oh Chandrama, oh you are doing like that, you are doing like that. We are not hankering to get something. There was a sadhu came to Dakshineshwar. Mostly used to reside in his room. But now and then he used to come out and see the sky, this and that, and say, oh God, what wonderful Maya you have created. That was his sadhana. Anyway. So, Bhadram Karne Vishrunayama, Bhadram Akshavir Pashyema, Yajatraha, Sthirai Rangai Tanubhi Tushta Vamsaha. We are praisers. This is not Sambodhana, this is surely Prathama Vibhakti. We ourselves. Then what we are doing, what we should do, or what we are praying for? Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu. What is this Vyashema? Here in the Gita Press book, you will find Bhog Kare. Why that translation, I will tell you. I will refer to two authorities. One through which it came to me, one the original authority. What Nikhilanji has done in English? Enjoy. Same book. I referred to what we say, Brahmibhuta, late, revered Swami Harshanandji, who was in Bangalore. I knew that he will have some knowledge about it. I thought, and I phoned him. He said, phone to me again in the night. I noted down somewhere. And that is from who has commented on the Vedas? Sayan Bhashya. It is from Sayan Bhashya that I noted down somewhere, that I will tell you in the night. And in the night he told me, no, what exact words he told me, I do not remember today. But I would translate it, purposeful life, positive life. And that purposeful life, positive life, always gives joy. That is why this enjoyment has come. So even Nikhilanji translates as enjoy, even Gita Press styles work kare, because joyful passing of life. And why joyful? Purposeful. If there is, I am remembering so many incidents. One brilliant girl in Chandigarh, she came to me and said, please tell us how, in Bengali, life ki kore katan ho jaye. How the life should be spent or crossed over, passed over. I said, at this young age, you feel the life has somehow to be passed on. Can there be no purpose for your life? Can you not struggle for that purpose? Talk of the katano, of somehow passing the life. So you understand now, Vyashama? I will tell another incident in Chandigarh. The principal of the boys' college was almost in front of the ashram there, almost. And I was taking some Upanishad and explained this Vyashama. He said, you have removed a big burden from my mind. 2 years, I have still to be principal. And I was already thinking how to pass these 2 years. And I was getting puzzled. Now you have shown me the light that with some purpose, I have to spend these 2 years. Thinking positively, what can I do for the college? So you understand, Veshama means purposeful, positive spending of life.
But how do you reconcile or concile this the Jagat Mithya with this purpose? Because if everything, nothing is there and you think...
This itself is the purpose, that I want to realize God. Connect everything with that only. That is purpose. No other purposeful will serve. I already told you, to do something to get something is not allowed. So the only purpose of life, we have discussed the purpose, no? Prayojan. The only purpose of life is to realize God. The only purpose of life to become what we really are. I'll become a doctor, I'll become an engineer is no purpose. And if you spend the life purposefully, joy is always there. Where is joy? No, let me define joy. What we call pleasure reacts into pain. The real joy consists only when we realize our real nature. Satchid Ananda Brahma. The next category of joy is joy of struggle. If I am struggling to go to Brahman, and that struggling should not produce any pain, I am happy because I am on the right path. That is the joy which is second great joy. In Sri Ramakrishna's language, there is Vishayananda, there is Bhajanananda, and there is Brahmananda. Bhajan is not always singing. Anything which connects our mind with God is bhajan. And that is joyful. So purposeful means only purpose of life is to realize our own real nature. And in that struggle, if you find joy, half your life is successful. If you, I have to struggle, I have to do japam, I have to do that, then you will not succeed. So there should, time flies away. Vyashema, let me take 2-3 minutes more. Devahitam Yadayu has two meanings. Devahitam means decided by God. So the karma man prays, I should live 100 years. He does not pray that. Whatever my ayu, let God decide. Yadayu. Devahitam Yadayu. I should spend purposefully. Vyashema Devahitam Yadayu. The other meaning is, whatever I spend life should be for the benefit of the gods, not for myself. We may translate it as for the benefit of society, for the benefit of the world, not for myself. That is the other meaning of the word Devahitam. Devahitam means for the hita of the devas. Okay? So we'll think of the second part of the prayer next Wednesday. Om Bhadram Karne Vishnuyama Deva Bhadram Pashe Makshabhir Yajatra Stirai Rangai Stushta Vamsas Tanubhi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swastina Indro Vruddashrava Swastina Pusha Vishwaveda Swastina Starksho Arishtanemi Swastino Brahaspatir Dadatu Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanam.